This video is going to be about the ghost town of Pripyat. It will mostly include scenic shots such as tourist places like the Ferris wheel, the central square, but also drive-abouts and views of buildings. Some of these buildings are starting to collapse, we're gonna look into that, but it will not contain any of the creepy, weird or highly radioactive places. Those will be separate videos following after this one. So if you're not interested in this, if you're not interested in scenic shots, you might want to stop watching this video right now. Otherwise, enjoy the ride through the ghost town of Pripyat. We're now approaching the checkpoint of Pripyat, which you can see over there in the distance. It's pretty much just one security guy sitting there and letting people in. We've just passed the checkpoint now and are on the main road heading towards the central square of Pripyat. Pripyat used to house about 50,000 people. Most of them worked in the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, which is just a few kilometers to the east. But, well, as you all know, a few days after the Chernobyl accident, the place was evacuated and people never returned to their homes. Coming up in front of us, as I said, is the central square with this building, which is living quarters, a phone booth in front and also had a shop. That's where we came from. That's the direction of the checkpoint. Looking towards the main road to the west now, we can see a skyscraper. That logo has been repainted by stalkers recently. Quite nice, I think. They did a good job on the colors, but it already started to fade again. Now, if we look towards the central square, so pretty much almost towards north, we can see another of these skyscrapers with the repainted logo and a restaurant. That's what it says in Cyrillic, just in front there. And again, the skyscraper, the second large skyscraper of Pripyat. Now, looking towards north, we can see the cultural palace, would also house the cinema, and here on the right, a hotel. If we look past the cultural palace, on the right, we can see the Ferris wheel, and that's where we're gonna go now. We're going past the cultural palace again. Here's the main entrance, and you can see it's starting to fall apart a bit, but it's still somewhat safe to enter. And the cinema on the back of it. And now we're gonna turn right and pretty much head towards north and go towards the Ferris wheel. Standing right in the center of the amusement square now, we can see the famous bumper cars over there. Just to the right, a little carousel, another skyscraper in the background, not as high as the other two though, and of course the Ferris wheel. These are the bumper cars. You can see they're quite rocked from being there for nearly 30 years now. This amusement park was going to open a few days after the Chernobyl accident on the 1st of May, but well, as you know, it never did. That sound in the background is just the rapid clicks of a very sensitive Geiger counter. Yes, this place is quite contaminated. Radioactive DJ.
They removed soil from Pripyat, but asphalt
Totally
not
contaminated.
removed, yeah.
What the fuck? Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
It's just asphalt.
It's totally the other way around as normal. Yeah. Seems like they also tried to remove some of the asphalt though. You can see very high readings here on this side, just in front of the Ferris wheel. But if we take the Gamma Scout and move it to the other side of that crack in the asphalt, that seems to be a new piece of asphalt. Something they tried to remove or something they tried to clean. I don't know. complete and utter silence. No wind today, so there would be nothing if it wasn't for the bird songs. As still as a picture, even though it's a video. Let's check out that iconic Ferris wheel, the most well-known tourist attraction of Pripyat, from up close. You can see it's very rusty after those 30 years of just standing there in the wind, the rain, or the silence as now. No people going around on it. And they never did. You can imagine what a lively, beautiful, and rather rich city this was back at the time. It's funny how people put locks there, like lovers put these locks on bridges or whatever to seal their love. I wonder if they did the same here. Stalkers. In love. Can you imagine we're standing on the main road in front of a former kindergarten where moms would bring their little kids before going to work? But even in the abandoned city of Pripyat, some places are still in operation nowadays. Like here we are on the grounds of a dry cleaning and laundry facility, and apparently they still wash the clothes of the workers of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant here. Well, makes sense to wash contaminated clothing in a contaminated place, right? But then there are also places which you absolutely cannot use anymore. Like here, you can see the walls collapsing.
Looks like not safe. Looks like not safe.
Yeah. Better not do it. This wall will collapse if you kick it. Yeah, let's turn around and rather check out the music school instead. From outside, it still looks quite good. Like this piece of art with the tiny tiles just at the entrance. I'm quite surprised it looks that well. Not a lot of those tiles have come down. So, let's see what it's like inside. Upon closer investigation, this actually looks like a dangerous place to be as well. Just look at the bricks in that wall. It's not long before that will collapse, and we're just inside of it. Shit.
Especially that part.
Oh yeah. Hard to see, but that did not look good over there. Concert hall. No. Nice. Think it's safe to go there? For the piano?
Just view. Keys.
Hard to imagine what it was like back then, when proud parents used to sit in this auditorium and listen to their children giving concerts with the beautiful spring air coming in from the big windows there on the left. Anyway, let's take a walk in Pripyat. Some of the buildings, as you can see, look better. It always depends if they are made from concrete or just made from these lousy bricks. They're totally different buildings. Like this one, made with glass tiles. Most of them collapsed. And here, the tree looks about as bad as the building. You can see that entire area of that building, the entire walls there collapsed. And since quite a long time ago, I believe.
Well, in 2005.
Okay, yeah. So this collapse here on the left, which is just another part of that U-shaped building where we saw the other side of before. Well, that collapsed in 2005 already. I really love these eerie looking pathways throughout Pripyat. And here's a part of the building that doesn't look too bad.
I think this part will be next.
To collapse? Yes, true. This is an old school, and it doesn't really look good anymore at all. It collapsed a long time ago. I've been here before in like 2012 and it looked the same. But I think in 2 or 3 more years, much more of it will have collapsed. These bricks are just really, really lousy building material as it seems. And here's like a double birch tree growing out of a manhole. I just love how this kind of stuff happens all the time. Like here's a double tree just growing on stairs there on the left. Surrounded by a lot of smaller trees. But that big one, that must have been old. And it'll probably last for a much longer time than this building here. Which is gonna collapse sooner or later. As you can see, the wall looks quite terrible. Let's just have a quick look inside nevertheless. Sports hall. And to finish off, let me take you on a ride starting in the west of Pripyat, and let me tell you a little bit more about this city. As I said, Pripyat was built for the workers of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, primarily. It housed about 50,000 people. The average age was just about 26 years, so people who lived here were quite young. There are quite a lot of children here, which is, of course, even more disastrous in regard to the radiation exposure after the Chernobyl accident. But Pripyat, of course, also had a lot of educational facilities. 15 primary schools for the about 5,000 children, 5 secondary schools, and 1 professional school, the Pripyat School of Engineering, where I've been before. If you're interested, just Google, or more like search on YouTube for the Pripyat School of Engineering. You'll find my video. There's been 1 hospital, 1 really, really large hospital with like a dental care facility we will visit later on, with gynecology wards, of course, where the women would give birth to all these children living here. And, well, the hospital is also famous for the basement, where the highly contaminated firefighter gear has been dropped, and this firefighter gear is still very radioactive to this very day. So you can also find a video about that on my channel. Just search for hospital or something. As you saw when we were in the central square of Pripyat, Pripyat also had a cultural palace and a cinema. And there were 10 gyms in total, 3 indoor swimming pools. One of them is also in my videos. 10 shooting galleries and 2 stadia. There was 1 large park, a total of 35 playgrounds, and back then 18,136 trees. Somebody counted them, as it seems. But now the number of trees is a lot of times higher than that. So, as I said, we were just touring the west of Pripyat and are now on one of the main roads again, heading towards the east. And what is coming up just in front of us there is the central square. On the left is the skyscraper, where we saw the repainted logo before. And now we're heading towards the central square. And this time we're not going towards the right, where there would be the checkpoint, but we're gonna go past and drive a little bit around the east as well. So to the right there would be the checkpoint, to the left the central place, and a little further up north to the left the area with the Ferris wheel, and a little further north even the stadium. And now we're going towards the east. There's the hospital in the east, and also a ferry harbor. In general, Pripyat had a very good infrastructure. Besides trains and of course enough roads for cars and a lot of parking spots. There were also buses which would take the workers towards the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, which, as I mentioned before, is just a few kilometers east of Pripyat. But there were also buses which would take people all the way to Kiev. And there are still buses going to Kiev now, because there's still people working in the Chernobyl exclusion zone, as I said, on the new safe confinement, but also on everything else that needs to be done, including the laundry that we saw before, cooking, cleaning, brooming, just whatever a city needs. Except that people are no longer living in Pripyat, but they live in the town of Chernobyl and the town of Slavutic, which is pretty much a replacement for Pripyat, and just about, I believe, about 40 kilometers to the east from here. And maybe you recognize it, but that's the checkpoint of Pripyat. We're just approaching the checkpoint again. So that concludes the video, but don't worry, we'll check out more of the weird stuff in Pripyat in the next videos.